Hi everyone, Sef Alchemist here. I hope you're having an amazing time wherever you are. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for your subscriptions, for your likes, for your comments. It truly means a lot to me. And you guys show so much love in the comment section, and I truly appreciate it. So today I'm going to talk about the experience of seeing spirits and ghosts and demons. What is it? How does it happen? And how it happened to me. I did mention in my previous video where I talk about the deities of the East that the outcome of meditation usually is seeing spirits and deities and seeing things that don't make sense. But for me, it happened the other way around. One day I just started seeing things that don't make sense. And then I had to start meditating and doing research in order to make sense of it. So it happened to me in reverse. But why is that? Why did that happen? First of all, I would like to give you a little background on how this journey all started, because it didn't just happen like that. So prior to me seeing spirits and entities, the only time I have encountered such a thing was through the experience of sleep paralysis. And this thing used to happen to me when I was young. And when I say young, I mean in my early 20s. And that coincided with this period in my life where I was living in Japan. And Japan is very known for having a lot of spirits, a lot of ghosts. It's a land that's inhabited by a lot of supernatural and paranormal things. When I was young, I was obsessed with the land of Japan. And I realized it was because I had a past life there, and not any past life, it was just the past life I've had before this one. So when I was young, I was really obsessed with the country, the culture, the language, everything that comes from there. And mind you, I grew up in an era that was not the internet era, that computers were just used to type documents and use Microsoft Word to type documents and stuff like that. So the only information that was available about Japan for me was either through TV, through documentaries, or through books or magazines. Those were the sources, and it was like that worldwide. You guys know that. If you're from that era, you know how it was. When I turned 20, I just wanted to go to Japan. I wanted to just leave everything behind and dive in this other world that was very mysterious to most people. Even when I was telling a lot of my friends and a family, they wouldn't believe it, and they thought it was impossible. Many have told me it's not going to be possible for you to go there. It's not. It's like how are you going to just go and live there? How are you going to do it? What about the language? What about the culture? What about, and it's on the other side of the world. Like back in the 90s, like this traveling around and multiculturalism was not prevalent as much as it is today. It was only few people did it. Some people did it, but they were very rare. But I still wanted to go. And the universe gave me opportunities and led me to meet Japanese people. And these Japanese people eventually became my best friends, and they helped me through the process of moving to Japan, because mind you, I didn't speak the language. I didn't know a word back then. The only word I knew is arigato, which everyone knows. So I didn't want to give up. And the visa process was very complicated because I was going to go as a student to study the language, to study Japanese. But I didn't give up. I was gathering all the documents, follow through my application, and go to the immigration office. And it was tough. It was not easy. And also my Japanese friends, they had to help me with a lot of things throughout this process. And I'm very grateful to them. And I will never forget their help for me. They're like true family to me. They're like brothers and sisters. I remember I wanted to go to Tokyo, and it was just not possible for me at that point, because the immigration office was telling me that there needs to be an independent Japanese person that lives in the same city. And these friends I had, they were all still not independent. They were still also students, because we were all students back then. And I thought I couldn't go. the immigration office said that your case is good, but it's just the only missing part is that you need a Japanese person that's independent that can guarantee you being a student in Japan. And it just happened that right at that moment, one of my friends, she actually got her first job right after graduation. She just got her first job, but she was not living in Tokyo. She was living in a city that's very rural. And the city is called Utsunomiya. It's about 2 hours away from Tokyo, and it's very rural. And there's no English and nothing is in English. You have to know Japanese in order to live there. And she said, well, if you want to come live here and study here, then I can do this guarantee documents for you. I can be your guarantor. And I didn't hesitate for a second. The moment I heard that, I'm like, this is it. The universe has finally opened its doors for me. Because I didn't care where I was gonna go. I didn't care if it was Tokyo or Kyoto or Osaka, or I just wanted to go to the land. The land was just calling me. I didn't care where I landed. I just wanted to be in Japan, and I wanted to learn everything about that land. And so that friend helped me, and she showed her documents to the immigration office, and I was accepted. I got the visa for the 1 year as a student to study the language, to study Japanese. And I did go to that specific city where she was, and I found a Japanese school in there. And I was the only white-looking person. And back then, I used to look more of a white person. I was less tanned a little bit. And I used to have long hair, and I didn't have a beard, so I looked more on the European side, if you will. So I went there, and this city was so rural back then. I'm talking about 2005. This is pre-smartphone, pre-apps, Google existed, but it was limited, and then the only way to use internet was through your computer at home, and it's not like you have internet with you on the go. By the end of 2004, beginning of 2005, I went there, and and I didn't speak a word of Japanese, and I had to learn everything from scratch. I was stared at in the streets. The cars would stop to stare at me. I'm not exaggerating. The cars that are driving would stop to just stare. Look, there's a foreigner walking. In my school, I was the only Western or white person, if you will. Every person in that language school, even though it was a language school to learn Japanese, but every single person was from other Asian countries, from either Korea, China, or Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam, Thailand, a lot of Thai people, a lot of Filipinos, Vietnamese, Southeast Asia, or Korea or China. So everyone was Asian, and the school had many classes. It had, I think, it was not a very big school. It was like a small language school with maybe a total of 20 classes or so. But I was the only white guy in there, the only one. So the amount of attention I was getting from people, and it was good, but it was also not good at the same time. It was a very weird situation where everyone was curious about me. So I stood out so much, but at the same time, I was just there in the open. Like, it's like you can't have some sort of privacy. Everyone knows where you live. Everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows where you come from. It was a very interesting experience. That forced me to learn Japanese quick, fast, and I integrated so fast. By the 4th month, I was already able to hold a conversation. I remember that friend who helped me about 3 to 4 months after I was there studying. We all met for dinner with her and her boyfriend back then. And he was shocked of how I was able to hold a conversation, just a basic conversation. I'm not saying advanced, but a basic conversation within just 4 months of learning Japanese. He was shocked. But mind you, this is studying every single day. Every day from, I think, 9 a.m. to 1 or 2 p.m. every single Monday to Friday. And then the afternoons, you have them free. So I did some part-time jobs, yes. And I'm going to leave that for some other time because that was a crazy experience. To have a part-time job as like a Western foreigner is just, back then, was so unusual because most of the Westerners that came back then, they only taught English. And then you have the afternoon where you get to do the homework and practice. And that's exactly what I did. I would just go to school, and then after I would just do my homework or just spent all of my time studying Japanese. I became so fluent that after the first year, I was just like extremely fluent. The other foreigners and the other classmates, they were shocked. Even the teachers were shocked. They're just like, how are you able to be so fluent in Japanese? And I myself didn't know why. I just thought, whoa, I picked it up fast. Oh, I'm just integrated so fast. Oh, Japanese just makes sense to me as a language. But then I realized now that it was because I had a past life there. So I was just remembering what I already knew. It was not hard for me. It's not like I was learning everything from scratch. I just remembered everything from the past life, and that's why it was very easy for me. You would have Koreans and Chinese people who, my classmates, who, in terms of language, their languages are very close to the Japanese language in terms of grammar, kanji, the Chinese characters, pronunciation. Especially with the Korean language, so many words are similar. It's like comparing Spanish with French and English. There's many words that are similar, and the same for grammar because they all come from Latin. It's the same for Japanese, Korean, and Mandarin because they all stem from China. So the grammar, the words, the pronunciation are very similar. So usually Korean students and Chinese students are very good at learning Japanese. It's easier for them. It's like a Spanish person trying to learn Italian, something like that. These students, the Chinese ones and the Koreans, were impressed by my level, and I was more fluent than them. I had less accent than them. I didn't have as much accent as they did. And I'm not saying this to brag because it does sound like bragging. But for me, it was so normal. And even now, I feel like it's so normal. It's not something even for me to brag about. It's just because it's part of who I am. And this can happen to you as well. When you feel like there's a country that you just feel so connected to, and it could be anywhere in the world. For example, you feel connected to Italy, and you just know that if you go there within 3 months, you'll be fluent in Italian. And everything makes sense to you there. Everything makes sense. I felt this with Greece as well. The moment I stepped foot in Greece, and I've been to many countries. The moment I stepped foot in Greece, I just felt like I know the land. I felt like I knew the culture. And you know what's interesting? You start seeing that reflecting in how people behave towards you. In a lot of countries I go to, people are just normal. They're not like super kind or super nice, or, and sometimes they're even rude. In many cases, in Greece, they do have the reputation of being wonderful people. They're very kind. They're very nice to the visitors. They have this reputation. But I just felt that there was this familiarity, and even when I speak with the locals, when I spoke with some of the locals in Greece, we just clicked right away. Like I just didn't know what it was. Like I just felt like I was Greek. It's a very weird sensation. I've been to other countries and I didn't feel that in those countries, but I felt it when I went to Greece, and I knew it's because I had a past life there, and I eventually realized that it happened in Crete, where the story of the Minotaur happens with the Minoans, and I already made videos about it in this channel. So I knew why I felt like that. It's because I had a reincarnation there, but in Greece, it was way before. It was thousands of years ago. with Japan, it's just recent. It's one of my recent reincarnations. So I felt the same. Talking to Japanese people, I just click right away with them, and more so with most of Asian people. Like, I could connect to Asian people and become friends with them very easily with Chinese, with Koreans, with Japanese, with Thai, with Filipinos, with Vietnamese, with Indonesians, and I've had best friends from all of these countries. Best friends, as in like very close friends. And this for me happens much easier than with a person from the West. I always find these kind of difficulties to connect. I always find this kind of like there's always something. There's always kind of like a wall, and I never understood why myself. Eventually, I ended up having very good friends who were white, like white, very, very close friends. But it took time. It took much longer than usually with Asian people. With Asian people, I just feel like it's just there. I understand the culture. I understand how they think. I understand the gastronomy as well. Everything just makes sense to me. So if you feel like this with any country, that means you had a reincarnation there. That means it's part of your soul. That means it's one of your homes on earth. That's what I call them, homes on earth. It's just you've had them in different lifetimes. So I know that if I want to feel good, if I want to connect to the land, I'll go to one of my few homes. One of them is Japan, one of them is Greece. So it's the same for you. And you can have this connection with many other countries. You might find yourself in, let's say, I don't know, Lebanon. And you just feel so comfortable. And you're probably from the US or from Europe, and you know your whole family has nothing to do with Lebanon, but you go to Lebanon and you're just comfortable there, and everyone is speaking Arabic, and you're totally fine, and you're eating their food, and you feel like you're part of them. That's usually how it is, and it doesn't make sense. But the answer for that is past life reincarnations. Our souls have been there and have lived there for years and years and years. So when I went to Japan, it's like something was triggered in me. Not only I started remembering, but I never connected the dots because I didn't know what awakening was. I didn't know about anything about spirituality. I was young and foolish, my early 20s. Again, it's the era of pre-internet, so things were much simpler. Life was simpler. Things were done the old school ways. And I was just living a normal life. I was doing what I was told, which is go to school, get a degree, get a job, and that's how you live life. So I was following that because I thought that's what everyone is doing, so I'm gonna do it. And I've never seen anyone else saying otherwise, so I guess that's probably what it is. Even though I always was skeptical about this thing, but I just had to go through it. And in Japan, I think within the first 6 months, after being there, I had my first sleep paralysis experience ever. The first one in my whole life that I've ever had. But I do remember in my teenagehood, I've had some weird episodes, like with spirits, usually when I'm sleeping, and I had some weird dreams that I couldn't explain, and I used to be like very sensitive to presences. Like I remember many times, like I would wake up in the middle of the night and I just knew that there's something in the room. I just knew it, but I wouldn't move because I was very scared. There's even this one time when I felt this kind of breeze, and it was in the middle of winter, so all the windows were closed with the curtains and everything because it's cold outside. Yet I wake up randomly in the middle of the night and I feel like this kind of breeze in the room, and where is this breeze gonna come from? Like, it's just, and I remember that freaked me out. And many paranormal things that used to happen to me, but I was dismissing it so hard. Like I didn't want to understand it. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to do anything with it. So I would just keep dismissing it. I think it was because I was scared. Yeah, it's because, and I think this happens to a lot of people and kids too. People who are young, they're very terrified of these paranormal experiences, so they dismiss them. They try to forget them. They try not to talk about them. But in Japan, I had this sleep paralysis experience, and it was the real deal. It was like very terrifying. It's when your body is locked. You wake up in the middle of the night. You open your eyes, but you can't move your body. You cannot. But you can see everywhere around you, but your body, you can't sense it. It's like you're completely paralyzed. It's like you don't have a body, but you can see. You can see everything. But I wasn't floating in the air. I was still on bed, but I just couldn't move my body. And when I closed my eyes again, I started seeing some very scary things. Usually this happens, the sleep paralysis, if you don't know how to control it, and if you don't know how to handle it, the very bad entities, the harmful entities are going to try to come to you at first because you're weak, you don't know how to defend yourself, you don't know how to protect yourself. So the malicious entities are going to start coming to you because you're an easy prey. And these entities are scary. They're weak, they're cowards, but they're scary. They don't look friendly at all. And I had this experience, but I dismissed it again. I thought of it as a dream. I'm like, oh, it's probably just a dream and it's weird. What is this? Why wasn't I able to move my body, you know? And I have this tendency to be usually less scared than other people. This is for me since I was young. It's like where other people freak out and they're like, oh my God, I saw this. Oh my God. For me, I do get scared, but I don't freak out, and I try to logically think about it, and I'm like, well, maybe it's just something, and I just dismiss it, and I don't freak out about it. I don't get terrified, you know. So I decided to ask my friends about this, and I'm like, hey, have you ever had this experience where you were awake and you could move your body in the middle of the night? And I was with two Japanese friends, and I asked them at the same time. And they looked at each other, and then they looked at me, and they were so shocked. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, did you have kanashibari? Kanashibari? So it turned out that's what they call it in Japanese. Kanashibari. That's what they call it in Japanese. And it's a very, very known phenomenon in Japan. And only few people have it in Japan. And it's related to spirits and ghosts. So my friends were freaking out. They're like, oh my God, you had kanashibari? And I'm like, what is kanashibari? They're like, it's basically when a spirit or a ghost is like comes to attack you. And I'm like, wait, do you guys believe in that? Because back then, even the concept of believing in ghosts and spirits for me was something I was still trying to figure out. I was trying to figure out if it's a real thing or not. And I hear some stories, and they were like, yeah, it turned out all Japanese people believe in spirits and ghosts. It's something that's part of their culture. It's been part of their culture for thousands of years, and they believe in it. And they know that some people can see those ghosts and spirits, but not everyone can, but some people can, and they believe in it. And I asked them, I'm like, how about you? Have you ever guys had this kanashibari? And they're like, no. And they're like, it's a rare thing. Not everyone has it. It's very rare. And I'm like, what? But really? It's a rare thing? So anyway, that was the first introduction for me to seeing a spirit or coming in close contact to a spirit through a scary experience. And then eventually I asked other Japanese friends and other classmates who were from other Asian countries. It turned out everyone in Asia, it's a popular thing. People were very familiar with it, more than the West. In the West, it became popular recently, but long time ago, it was not a very known thing. But in Asia, it's known, and people know it. And every person I asked never had it. So basically, I was the only one who've had it amongst every single person I asked, my classmates, my friends, and back then I used to have a lot of friends. Not like now. You know, I used to be sociable and extroverted, and you know, I used to hang out a lot, and I knew a lot of people. So I asked a lot of people, and none of them had it. I was the only one who've had it until I met this one Korean guy. Later, it was a few years later. He was my classmate in college, and he also told me that he's had it. And he was, I think, the only other person I met who've had it. The only other person I met in Japan who've had it. So sleep paralysis is a scary thing, and I was having it in Japan so much that, without exaggeration, I think it was once a month I would have an episode. Once a month I would have a sleep paralysis until I became used to it. Sometimes it comes with scary spirits. Sometimes it comes with nothing. Sometimes I don't see anything. Sometimes I see very scary things. And I was so used to it, and it became something normal. Until this one day when I remember that was, I think, one of the scariest sleep paralysis I've had ever, I think, in my whole life, even up until now, where I felt like literally something came and just sat next to me in the bed. Like literally, I felt the mattress. You know, when you sit and you feel like someone just sat beside you on the mattress? I felt that, so that freaked me out. Because as I felt that, I woke up through sleep paralysis, meaning that I opened my eyes and I couldn't move my body. So I felt like someone sat right beside me, almost touching me on my bed. I freak out, I open my eyes, I can't move my body, and I was sleeping on my stomach. Sleeping on my stomach, not on my back. So I couldn't see what it was or who it was. And my eyes were open, so I was sleeping on my stomach. My head was like this, my eyes are open. I can't move my body. And then I feel like something is pressuring me on my back. It's like something is pushing me inwards, pushing me like this from here. And it was like a very strong push, and it was so uncomfortable while my eyes are open. And I knew that whoever sat next to me in the bed was the one who was doing that to me. It's like pushing me. And then I decided to get out of this experience. So I closed my eyes. And then as I closed my eyes, I actually, with my mind's eye, with my third eye, I saw the entity. And it was very freaky. And I'm not going to share it with you here, because every time I describe that to someone, they literally get goosebumps and they get so scary. So when I started noticing that people really think it's so scary, I prefer not to share it with you, because I don't want to give you ideas. So I'm not gonna share what that thing was, but it was it's like you can think of the most horrifying horror movie you can watch, and something like that. And I'm not even a big fan of horror movies. I never like to watch horror movies. I don't watch horror movies, just so you know, because you might be wondering, well, maybe you watch too much horror movies and that reflects on your psyche, and then you start projecting that. No, I even hate gruesome movies. You know, the movies that have gruesome scenes and stuff like that with blood and whatnot. I don't like that stuff. I don't like it. I never liked it, and I don't watch it, and I'm not a fan. So I'm not projecting anything. And this entity was there. I saw it with my mind's eye. It was terrifying. While I was with my mind's eye, while I was seeing the entity, I visualized myself taking my hand, because I can't move my body, but I just visualized that my body's moving, that, and I took my hand like this, and I grabbed the entity, grabbed it like this, like this, and I like forcefully pulled it, and I just slammed it so hard on the floor, like so hard, as much as possible, just like slammed it so hard. And I did it all inside my visualization. And the moment I did that, the sleep paralysis broke down. I was able to move my body. So again, this shows you the power of visualization and the power of what you see in your mind's eye, in your third eye. If you see it there, it's going to manifest. It's the preconception of what will happen in reality, but you have to believe that it's real. You can't just believe that it's imagination. You have to believe that it's a real thing. Because the moment I did that, I was able to move my body. Because after I slammed it on the floor, I didn't finish. I didn't just slam it on the floor and I was looking at it. I actually grabbed it like this and I was staring at it like this. So I grabbed it and I was staring at it, and that entity wasn't able to move. It's like it died or something. This all happened in my visualization, and then the sleep paralysis disappeared. I opened my eyes, and then I woke up. I turned on the lights. I don't see anything. And I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. I couldn't sleep, and I had school the next day because I was in college at that point, and I had to go to college, and I couldn't sleep. I just kept being awake, and I think it was 3 or 3:30 a.m. I think it was between 3 and 4 a.m., which is the witching hour, by the way, is the hour when the spirits are the most active. It's between 3 and 4 a.m. So remember, if you want to connect to spirit, or if you hear some sounds or something and it's between 3 and 4 a.m., that's when the spirits are most active. So Japan triggered this kind of thing with sleep paralysis, with me starting to see these paranormal things. So that kept happening and I kept ignoring it, and it was for me just a thing. And that kept happening for years and years. Fast forward to many years later, when I finished my education and I graduated from college, and then I went to university and I graduated from university, and now I was having a job. I was having a 9-to-5, and I was not in Japan anymore. So many years have passed, many years. And I started to kind of like, just one day, I started to think about life, about the meaning of everything, and why are we even here, and what is this thing all about? I was just having this kind of reflective moment about life, and it was a Sunday, and I was just relaxing at home. And mind you, I used to do everything in moderation, just like everyone else. Yes, I used to party and go for drinks and hang out with friends and have fun, you know. I used to do those things, but I was never like addicted to drugs or to alcohol or this, or, you know, I never abused these substances, and I didn't even smoke. I was not a smoker, and I never really was into smoking in general. So when this happened to me, I was just relaxing at home. I was just reflecting on life, reflecting on my life and what has happened, and I started asking the question, why am I here? What am I doing here? What led me here? How come I'm here? What is the meaning of all of this? And is it really all about money? Is it really about just working and making money? Is that what life is all about? And I started asking these questions, and I was listening to music at the same time. And guess what music? I was listening to music by a Japanese DJ. So again, it's always connected to Japan. Everything that triggers that spiritual side of me is connected to Japan. So I was listening to this Japanese song, and it's amazing. The funny thing that song was introduced to me by my friend just a couple days before. So a couple days before that day, my friend was like, "Oh, do you know this DJ? Have you ever heard of him?" And I'm like, "No." And I listened to the music. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is unbelievable. Who's this guy?" And he said he's Japanese. His name is Nujabes. I'll share with you the song at some point, because it turned out that even the lyrics of that song matched what I was going through, which is just insane. It's insane. Everything was like clicking like a puzzle. Everything. I just checked the lyrics of that song last month because I completely forgot about the song. And last month I remembered it, and I started listening to it again. I checked the lyrics, and I realized that the lyrics actually were reflecting what I was going through when I was listening to that song back then, many years ago, more than a decade ago. So I was listening to the song, I was lying down, and then I closed my eyes while I was asking questions and having this existential moment, if you will. So I closed my eyes. And as I closed my eyes, and again, I'm not intoxicated, I'm not ingesting any drugs, no weed, no alcohol, nothing. Just as a disclaimer, okay? I'm not on magic mushrooms, I'm not on ayahuasca, nothing. So as I just close my eyes and I'm lying down, and then the first thing I see is this eye. One eye here in the middle. One big eye. I see it. And it's a big eye, and it was there for a while, and I'm like, what is this eye? And it's staring at me. I see it with my eyes closed. So this all happened with my eyes closed. They're not open. And I look at this eye with my eyes closed, and I'm like, first of all, how am I able to see with my eyes closed? What's going on? What's happening? How am I able to see something when my eyes are closed? And this eye was there for like a good 20 to 30 minutes. It was just there. And I started enjoying looking at this eye, and I'm like, wow, that's very interesting. So I kept looking at the eye. I opened my eyes, and yeah, it was, by the way, the afternoon around 3 p.m. So it was during daytime. This is not even nighttime. Just to tell you that spirit is always around. So I opened my eyes. There's nothing in the room. I close them, the eye is there, I can see it, it's there. And I'm like, well, that is very weird. So I kept listening to the music, and I went into this kind of like meditative state. So I was awake, but just lying down and closing my eyes. And after that 20 to 30 minute window with that eye being there, that eye kind of slowly disappeared. And then I started seeing these vortices of light. It's like coming and going. It's like waves of light. And the color, by the way, was green. Green was the dominant color. So I saw everything in green. So it was like a lot of waves coming and going. It's like you're swimming in this vortex of waves of, I don't know, energy that doesn't make sense. And it's just waves like this and coming and going and coming and going. And I'm like, what is this? What's going on? But I kept enjoying it. And I'm like, I'm just going to keep looking at this stuff since it's here. Because mind you, I'm still awake, but with my eyes closed. I'm not sleeping. So I'm like, let's see where this is going to go. I was kind of like just letting it be. And again, that kept going on for... I don't remember for how long, but it was for a while. And then after that, after a while of seeing those waves started kind of shifting into faces. And that's when it started to become scary. Faces, and these faces were not human. They were not human. And they were they were not human, they were not nice looking, they were not familiar to me. It's basically what people label as demons, like literally. Most of them were non-human faces, basically what you would label as like a demon or a creature or a spirit. And some others were human faces. And these faces would just come very close by me with my eyes closed. And then they go away, and then some others come, they come and go. They're just like floating. And I see them just like all around. Because when you close your eyes, there is no limit to this kind of screen you're seeing. It's everywhere around you. And that was terrifying. That was scary. Because some of these faces looked very like, it's like creatures you see in movies, literally. Or you see in like legends and stories in some old books. And I'm like, what is going on here? And why some of them are human faces and some of them are not? And what are these faces? So that was a little bit concerning to me. And before I knew it, it was already late evening. So I spent the whole afternoon and evening just lying down, seeing what's happening to me. So that kept going on until I think it was 9 or 10 p.m. So that kept going on. And I was just like, maybe I'm tired. Maybe I need to go to bed. It's just whatever. I decided to do what I usually do, which is, again, dismiss it. Dismiss it, like how I did with everything that happened to me before. And it was actually hard to fall asleep that night because every time I closed my eyes, that stuff was there. It was there nonstop. It's almost like now when I think back, it's like my third eye was cracked open just all at once. And it was just there. And I couldn't control it. And just things were just happening. So it was very hard to fall asleep. But eventually, I tried to dismiss it. I tried to ignore it. The next day, I went to work. I remember we had a meeting. And then I told two of my coworkers after the meeting, I told them, do you guys have ever, I just wanted to ask them to pick their brain and see if this makes sense, you know, and we were kind of close, so I felt comfortable to ask them. And I told them, do you ever have this experience where you close your eyes and you start seeing faces? Have you heard of this thing before? And then they were like, they looked at me and they're like, what do you mean? And they're like, you close your eyes and you start, and they're like, wait, it's happened to you? And I'm like, I said, yeah, I think so. And then one of them, and he was actually my boss as well back then. And he was like, you're a psychic? Are you a psychic? And I'm like, what? A psychic? No, I'm not what? Wait a second. What do you mean by psychic? What? No, I'm just asking if they're like, you're a psychic. Is it, you can see spirits? And I'm like, no. Wait, what spirits? So I was overwhelmed. They overwhelmed me with with their surprise. So I told them, okay, guys, just forget about it. It's maybe I'm just hallucinating. It's nothing crazy. And I never brought it up again to them or to anyone at work because I realized I shouldn't speak about those things at work. So I went back home, and that experience happened again when I was trying to sleep. So every time I close my eyes, it's there. And then I see the eye, it's the same thing. I see the eye, and then the eye disappears, and I start seeing the waves, and then the faces, and that thing was going on 24-hour nonstop for, I think, almost 1 month. For 1 month. It was just there. And it was really starting to freak me out because I did not know what was going on. And every time I close my eyes, those things are there. Every time. Even when I'm at work. When I do this, when I close my eyes, I'm on my desk working and I close my eyes and I start seeing things. So one day I was like, enough is enough. I'm going to research this. I have to know what this is really. Because I was trying to ignore it so much and it wouldn't go away. And then I Googled it and I wrote down what was happening to me. And the first thing that came up on Google, I remember, was, if you see this and this and this and this means that you're a clairvoyant and that your third eye is open. And that was the first time I've ever seen or heard of the word third eye. And I'm like, what the hell is a third eye? And the rest was history. That was the start of my journey of research, of reading everything I got my hands on. Books, articles, documentaries, YouTube videos. You can't imagine the amount of things that I have consumed in order to understand what was happening to me. And from that point on, there was no going back because the more I learned, the more I knew what was happening to me, the more the more I wanted to learn more. It's like a rabbit hole and it never ends. And then the funny thing is that after I started researching and understanding what was happening to me, those visions that were there 24/7, they stopped. They weren't there anymore. And now they would come just every now and then. And then eventually I had to learn how to control them through meditation. Because meditation helped me control when I want to see something or not. Or if something bad comes to me, I tell it to not come and to stop. So I learned how to control it, how to not let the bad entities come to my space, come to my field, how to banish the bad entities, how to get rid of them. I learned that as well. So knowledge helped me make sense of what was happening to me. It helped me balance my energy and control it. It helped me develop techniques to deal with spirits, to deal with bad spirits, with unwanted spirits. Because if I just kept ignoring that, who knows what would have happened? Maybe that's how many people go crazy. Maybe that's how many people lose sense of reality and they start becoming lost in life. This is something hard to even explain to people. Most people would laugh at you. They wouldn't believe you. Most people would think you're crazy. So for me, the remedy was research, studying, practicing, improving, doing whatever I could to understand this world, understand the spirit realm, understand what is this thing. Yeah, and the rest was history. And a few years has passed until one day I found myself so deep into this, so deep, that I knew that I had to leave everything behind in order to become who I am, become Sef Alchemist, and share it with the whole world, because the life I was living of going to work every day and living like a normal person was not meant for me. It was not who I am, and it didn't represent anything about my soul. So learning meditation helped me regulate my third eye and my clairvoyance. Because when you meditate, you're in the moment, you're in the now. So you know if you want to block certain energies, you will know how to block them. Because you use your intention, but you're calm enough to know how to use your intention. Because when you're distracted, even your intention doesn't work properly. Eventually, in the beginning, it was New Age, spiritual New Age concepts. That's how I started, because that's the first thing that pops up on the internet. And a lot of books, New Age books that I've read. Most of the books that you probably guys already know. I'm not going to name them. You guys have already also read them. I've read all of them. I've read them all. So I started with the spiritual New Age fluff that everyone researches in the beginning of any spiritual awakening. And then as the years went by, I started digging deeper and deeper and finding out about alchemy, about occult sciences, about the juicy stuff. The things that have true magic. And witchcraft is part of it too, because I always say witchcraft and alchemy, they're very connected. They're the same thing. The juicy stuff that actually help you activate those powers, understand them, and even help you utilize them. Because a lot of people, they are gifted, but they're stuck in the spiritual New Age fluff, and they don't know how to use their powers because they never dig deeper. They never go deeper and deeper. Because it's not always about being a healer. Being a healer is an amazing thing, and it's also one of my abilities. I heal myself from many illnesses that, again, I will share with you in another time. But it's not the path I chose. I didn't choose the path to become a healer. But being a healer is something amazing. But I just want to tell you that it's not the only thing you can do out of this spiritual path. Because nowadays, well, especially for New Age, it seems you're either a yoga instructor or a healer, and that's it. It ends there. And nowadays, it's more with tarot readings. Oh, now it's like, oh, well, a tarot reader. You can add that too, because now you can Google what tarot cards means, and then you think you're a tarot reader. It's like, oh yeah, like, well, Google said the Three of Pentacles means this and this, so I'm just gonna pull the cards, and if I pull the Three of Pentacles, I'm gonna say that's what it means. So I'm a tarot reader. No, wrong. You're not. You're not a tarot reader. Because tarot is just a tool. If you don't know the true wisdom of the major arcanas, you don't know tarot. Even if you read it, it doesn't mean a thing. Tarot is an initiative knowledge that comes from ancient Egypt and even from before, and it holds the true wisdom that helps you transform, that helps you go through your alchemical transformation. And if you don't understand the notions of the major arcanas, reading tarot is empty. It's useless. It's like eating a delicious meal that's so bad for you. It's delicious, but it's bad for your health. So what's the point of having it? So there's more to just being a healer. You can be a healer. It's a beautiful thing. But the more you do your own research, the more you will know what's good for you, what works for you. Again, I keep saying it over and over. Try not to mimic. Avoid mimicking others. Do you, be who you are. Just because it seems like everyone is doing tarot readings doesn't mean that tarot is for you. I did tarot before it was wildly known. It's because I was really into it. As a male tarot reader. And I was one of the first ones who shared it publicly. And if you've been here on YouTube for a long time, you probably know that. I'm not saying the first one, but one of the first ones. Because I'm aware there's other male tarot readers, of course, and they're all amazing. They're all wonderful and talented. But I'm just saying, for me, I chose tarot is because I was passionate about tarot. I was passionate about the major arcanas more than you can imagine. More than you can imagine. So don't choose tarot just because everyone is doing tarot. Choose what works for you, what makes you feel so passionate, what gives you that kind of love and excitement inside of you. That's the tool you should use. That's the tool you should research. And that's where you're going to thrive the most. Okay? So that's how things happen for me. It feels like I didn't have any control over what happened. I never wanted. If you came to me like 12, 13 years ago and you showed me a video of me now and said, this is what you're going to be doing, I would have thought you're crazy because I never wanted to do this. I never thought even once that my life is going to be this ever. It seems like things were just put on my shoulders. The things were just pushed in my life just like that. And that makes me believe that I'm here for a mission and I need to fulfill it. I need to accomplish it because I don't think I wanted to come here. We don't all choose to come here, which is probably the subject that I'm going to talk about in the next episode, which is, do you choose to really come here about reincarnation? Do you choose to or not? Because in my case, I don't think I wanted to come here at all. Does that shock you? Because everyone in the spiritual community says, no, you choose it. You just don't remember it. But you signed the contract. Yeah, we're like in a recruiting office here. Signed the contract. What are you talking about? What contract? You think in spirit people sign contract? You think this is like an HR office? What kind of delusion is this? Who came up with this? You signed the contract. What contract? They gave you a paper and they gave you a pen in the spirit realm and tell you sign. And you said, yeah, I want to go and struggle. I want to go and struggle because life on Earth is amazing. It's like humans are such an amazing race. I want to go there. No, I did not want to come to Earth. I know I was ordered to come to Earth. I was forced to come to Earth. I didn't have a choice. So it's part of a mission. And I know that recently some people are waking up to this truth. But the mission is the mission. If you're here to fulfill it, you just have to fulfill it. You just have to do it. Did you want to come here? No. There's that's just like giving an excuse to make yourself feel better about all the struggles and challenges that life is giving you. So you say, no, I wanted to come here. I knew this was gonna be hard. It's like there's some ego in there. There's some ego. I knew this was gonna be hard and tough, and my guardians told me this is gonna be tough, but I chose to do it because I'm a noble person, because I'm a very good human being. Yes, because so I chose to do it. You know, there's a little bit of ego in there. It's like, let's talk about reincarnation in the next episode, about if you actually choose to reincarnate or not, and why do you reincarnate? How does it happen? This is what I have for this video. This is what has happened. This is how I have become Sef Alchemist. There's more to it. There's more details to it, but this is just in a nutshell. Let me know about your own spiritual awakening. And if you see spirits, how do you see them and how did it happen to you? What was your experience with that? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate it if you made it all the way here. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.